Welcome to the September project, otherwise known as the Haunted Stitcher. Good morning, good morning. We are on the move today, so we have a quick video, but I recovered a lot of stuff. I found my kneaded erasers, QWERTY, and I'm going to make a stamp using this stump of a piece of wood. However, it doesn't work on this particular surface because the stump was shredding and it got into the kneaded eraser. So I discovered that I probably need some kind of other surface to work off of instead of this much nature. But I'm ready. I'm going to make stamps all over the place. If you're standing still, I'm going to put some clay on you. It's not really clay. It's a kneaded eraser. But the effect that I got was fantastic. It's just that this stump is shredding. And that right there, I love. But I went to a different place on the stump, and then I got goop all over the place. And so I'm working on it. I don't hate that right there either. However, it's just going to load the kneaded eraser up with all kinds of splinters. They're not dangerous. They're just a nuisance. But I found my Chinese stamp, my Chinese character stamp. I found my kneaded erasers. I found a pencil sharpener that will be good for my skinny Stabilo. And I found another roll of clear packing tape. So it pays to look for stuff. I'm still missing one other thing. I cannot find my, what do you call them? Oh gosh, what are they called? Oh, and that was a seashell. Not the one that's next to me, but it was a different one. But it was a seashell, like a skinny football. That's what I call skinny football. It's a conical shell that's pointed at one end and wider on the other end. But I was trying to use this like mussel shell or clam shell, whatever it is. And it did not turn out as well. So I just stopped. And I did find this stamp also, which is a Starbucks cold brew lid. And I just put kind of like Pac-Man looking shapes. I think they were supposed to be water lilies, but they kind of look more Pac-Man-ish. But, anyhow, I'm just making some paper because, I only have 7,000 sheets of paper here. Well, not really that much. I'm using everything I'm making because I'm not using commercial. Most always not using commercial anymore. And I'm just trying to come up close to a piece of paper that you can see under the Altoid can. It's got some greens and some yellows and some a light lavender maybe-ish color. I think I did that on a jelly plate and stamped that same stamp, the Pac-Man stamp, into it. So I'm trying to replicate it with ink, and it's not perfect, but it works. And just sitting here listening to some music. Then I used the back of the shell with the ink pad. That's not a bad idea also. So I went with my little tiny Starbucks lid that has just scraps of foam on it that I made these other homemade stamps out of. I'm loving my homemade stamps. Now I did use some Ranger big, huge, like label stamps, Tim Holtz stamps. That's the tempera paint stick. And I don't know if I didn't have enough ink on them. These tiny distressed inks are not the right kind of ink. You need to use archival ink. These are distressed, just like they say, so they're not full coverage always. And an archival ink would work better for the Ranger stamps, I think. What do I know? But I think. Anyhow, so I decided to just add a little bit more color, trying to get closer to that jelly plate pool on the left. It's not an exact match, and I'm okay with all that, but I wanted to get a little closer. And I think you can see the Pac-Man looking shape, water lily looking shape. There's one of the Ranger stamps, one of those huge ones. Expensive. And I never remember to use it. So hello, but it's not showing up on here. There's a little bit of a show up of the edge of the stamps, just like the rectangle shapes. But I do love this, and I love just using it as one huge sheet. So I got out some other stamps, another Tim Holtz one that was more labels, and tried to see if that would work. But truly, I do think I need to use like a juicier stamp pad. And then the distress, I think. I may be wrong, but I think. I'm never wrong, by the way. That little tiny piece of paper at the top is what I'm using for the substrate, or the layer to attach to. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get. I had to stop stamping. I also want to say, because the different textures of ink and tempera paint sticks and everything else was making everything a little. It was starting to shred the paper. It's just copy paper. It's not meant for all that action. But I went in with one of my texture paste things and just blobs shapes. And I'm going to put them in here, but I had to figure out the shape I needed. And it's going to be a tip in, a fold in. What do you call this? I guess it's a tip in. It's just not attached. It's folded in. But trying to get all the right sizes and cover up all the white paper, the blank spaces, the white spaces. Anyhow, so I decided no matter what happens, I'm still having fun, and that's my mantra. It has to be fun. I put this little piece of paper on the back because there's a tiny bit of this paper showing on the other side, and I wanted something on it. Again, no white space allowed. There's a company called No White Space. She makes tons of Disney stuff. So anyhow, I'm going up with my same procedures, close to the same colors, but I wanted these to stand out a little bit, so I'm kind of using a little bit different tones of the same colors. I'm using that lime green, but it's not as dark as the one on the piece of paper. Then I'm trying to get a pink shade, which is kind of like, there's a really tiny pastel pink shade on the original piece of paper. That was on the jelly plate. My words are, and it still ran. Because yesterday the words, she kept unplugging the machine at night when it would run by itself, the sewing machine. But it still ran. That's today's words. It still ran, even though it was unplugged. Haunted sewing machine. Yep. So I made, on top of my texture paste lime green piece, the long one, and I made a pink one of the Pac-Man / water lily shape. And that's going to go on top of the lime green one, and then that's going to get put on top of the folded piece of paper. And again, I'm just working on all the edges and any kind of texture I can grab out of the texture paste, and different levels of product. And I put the words in some of the fold, so you don't see the words immediately. You have to unfold it. I'm really, really still having a lot of fun doing, and not getting bored with these ideas, and not getting bored with the same, adding texture, edging everything, adding shadows, making as many layers as I can, not getting bored with any of that. And it's like 18 days, 17 days into this, maybe. What is it? I don't know, 16 or 17. And I'm really, really, I will use a lot of this next month. And that's what this month was for. There's new people here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this month I was practicing layering stuff as if I were part of the Tim Holtz Makers group. Don't want to be, just want to be like them. And I really, really tried. I fake sewed this one on. So this one looks like it's been sewed on, but it's really just Stabilo. And I'm using the story as prompts, just so that I have something to tempt me every day, bring me back every day. I'm very weird. I'm not a trained artist, so I have to play tricks with my head sometimes. And those words, that little storyline brings me back every day. Even though I know what the story is, it still brings me back. And I'm not trying to represent the story with this one particularly. I'm just trying to play with textures and come up with ideas, and more than I ever have before, and wanting to use some new skills in all this texture stuff. Between Tim Holtz and Seth Apter, it's just, luscious, luscious, luscious. Seth Apter really got me going. He was in a paper show, or an art show, this past weekend in New York someplace. But he put on his YouTube channel some of the products he was taking. Oh my God, the layers and the layers. Again, I don't want to buy all those products. I want to try to replicate what I can with what I have, including using a tree stump and whatever else I can come across, a seashell, whatever else I can come across, a Starbucks lid. But it worked. In my opinion, it worked. So, thanks for watching. Got to go run a bunch of different appointments today. See you tomorrow. Bye.